Tesla have just published their Q2 2024 vehicle safety report. This gives you an idea of just how safe Tesla vehicles actually are. Recently, there's been a bit of a false information campaign going around. People trying to say, if you drive a Tesla, you're more likely to get into a crash. That, my friends, is utter bullshit. Please don't say this kind of thing, even if you think it's right because emotionally it sounds good to you. Maybe you don't like Elon Musk. Please don't say this stuff. There's millions of Tesla owners around the world, and they're not more likely to get into a crash because they drive a Tesla. That is completely false. Now, we do know that Tesla vehicles are, well, they're the safest in the world. I don't believe that's maybe objectively true. I think there's a few different cars, but there's probably about 10 or 15 different models of EV that are up there being the safest in the world. But the truth is that right now, the three safest cars in the world technically are the Tesla Model S, the Model Y, and the Model 3. Tesla have revealed their Q2 24 safety report, and it says that Teslas are still among the safest cars on the road today, even though all three of those models are now, well, a little bit older. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. And I want to say a big thank you, big shout out to our Patreon supporters. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. I really, really sincerely appreciate you. I'll put a link in the description below to our Patreon page. Basically, if you want to, you can support the channel. Just give a couple of dollars a month. The other option is you can become a YouTube member. And YouTube members do get access to some of our videos that are not on the main channel. Tesla's report shows that Tesla vehicles are actually very, very safe. And it actually gives us an idea of what Tesla vehicles do when they are in full self-driving. Are they safer? Are they not as safe? Tesla says it believes that a unique combination of passive safety, active safety, and automated driver assistance is crucial for keeping not just Tesla drivers and passengers safe, but all drivers on the road. This combination is clearly working for the Model S, the Model X, and the Model 3, and of course the Model Y. All of them have achieved the lowest overall probability of injury of any vehicles ever tested by the United States New Car Assessment Program. So all four of those vehicles have achieved the lowest overall probability of injury when you get into a crash. Now, I've seen numerous videos, guys, of Teslas being involved in some pretty insane crashes, and it's amazing that people have come away from them. In some cases, they haven't even been injured, barely a scratch, and their cars are just annihilated. Speaking of annihilation, the Tesla Cybertruck, that has not yet been tested, so we don't know how safe it is or it isn't. We do know if you crash into one, your car is very likely to be destroyed, which could be good for the people inside the Cybertruck, not so good for people who crash into the Cybertruck, or for the people who the Cybertruck crashes into, if that happens. Tesla's combination of passive and active safety features and their advanced driver assist systems clearly has helped improve Tesla's safety results. Tesla's Q2 vehicle safety report shows that only one crash happened for every 6.9 million miles driven. That's more than 10 million kilometers when autopilot was being used. Now, autopilot is not full self-driving. It's a totally different feature. Autopilot is free when you get your car. It's essentially like automated cruise control, right? Sort of like radar cruise, which other manufacturers have, but autopilot can do a lot more than radar cruise. That's the big difference. There's still an immense amount of confusion, though, with people thinking that autopilot is full self-driving. It's not. It's very, very, very different. But for Tesla drivers that were not using autopilot, one crash was recorded every 1.45 million miles. Now, this is not to say, I don't believe Tesla is saying to you that you are 5 times more likely, 4 or 5 times more likely to be in a crash if you're using autopilot. They're not trying to make that claim. I think the real claim here, guys, is if you're using autopilot, you actually do become more aware of what's going on. So autopilot is another thing where you just lay down and go to sleep. You've got to pay attention, and Tesla says you've got to pay attention. This is very much confirmed with autopilot. It's not like autopilot is going to save you from an accident, but it does appear, combination of reasons, that when you're using autopilot, you are far less likely, 4 to 5 times less likely to be involved in a crash. And one crash for every, this is quite staggering, guys. One crash for every more than 10 million kilometers or 6.9 million miles driven is incredible. Recent data from the NHTSA and the FHWA indicates that in the United States, one crash was recorded for every 670,000 miles of driving, meaning if you're using autopilot and paying attention, you are 10 times less likely to be involved in a crash. It is true that Tesla vehicles with autopilot on have done weird things. People go, what the hell happened? Why did my Tesla do that? And often it's to avoid another car that would have hit you. Sometimes though, autopilot gets it wrong. So that's why you got to pay attention. It's not perfect, that's for sure. In the second quarter, we recorded one crash for every 6.9 million miles driven in which drivers were using autopilot technology. For drivers who were not using autopilot technology, we recorded one crash every 1.45 million miles driven. By comparison, the most recent data available from the NHTSA and the FHWA shows that in the United States, there was an automobile crash every 670,000 miles. So you're actually more than 10 times less likely to be in a crash if you're driving a Tesla using autopilot. Now, I'm not saying that's just because of autopilot. It's a combination of factors. Tesla shared this vehicle, its vehicle fire incident data as well. As per Tesla, between 2012 and 2022, over a 10-year period, one Tesla fire event happened for every 130 million miles traveled. Now, I believe those numbers are actually improving because now Tesla's using about 60% of the cars Tesla sells have lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are even better in a crash than lithium ternary batteries. Say, for example, Panasonic 2170 cells, or LG Chem batteries, or even Tesla's own 4680 battery cells. LFP cells that come from BYD and CATL are even a bit better in a crash and even less likely to catch fire. But I mean, one fire event for every 130 million miles is still pretty amazing, especially considering the battery technology was all much older from that period of time, 2012 to 2022. Here's the thing though. If you look at the data from the US government, it says that for every 18 million miles traveled in an EV, there was one fire. Every 18 million miles. That's a hell of a lot less than an internal combustion car, gasoline or diesel powered car, or a plug-in hybrid. They are far more likely, but one in every 18 million miles driven. But Tesla is one in every 130 million miles driven. So based on this information that has come from the US government, if you're driving a Tesla, you're much less likely to be in a crash, or 10 times less likely, most likely. And your car is about 7 times less likely to be involved in a fire if it is a Tesla. So this is some pretty impressive data from Tesla. Often people try to say this is fake data. I believe it's not fake, but some people try to claim that it is. But often that's a bit of an emotional argument. They don't like Tesla or they don't like Elon Musk, which is understandable. But I actually think this data is real, and I think it is of definite credibility and merit. And it's mostly based on numbers that are fairly easy to actually track and find information on.